Steve, tell the audience all about Steve Judge.
Oh, all about Steve Judge. How long have we got? I'm a speaker. I'm a professional speaker, and we love to talk. So I will keep it as slim as possible. But where do I start? School is always good. I was going to say I love school. That'd be a lie. I love that time at that period. And the things I really loved, I think, are probably scouting in that time when I was about 10 years old. I loved it for the fun, the challenge, the adventure. School was okay, but scouting was where I really got my kicks. I loved it for the badges as well. I loved the badges going down your arm. And I think, I used to be that scout that used to take the badge book home, and I used to look for the next badge that I wanted. And when I found out, I'd go and ask for help from my mum, my dad, the scout leader, and they would help me to work towards that badge that I really wanted. And I think if you think about it, or if I think about it, I was probably getting a foundation there of setting goals and working towards them. Now, after scouting, other than scouting, I also enjoyed running. Running was my passion. I really loved that as a kid, doing it at school, sports day, cross countries and things like that. So running was a real release for me, I think it was. Now, when I left school, I worked down the coal pits of Yorkshire. And, much as I enjoyed the job, I always felt that I could do more. And so I remember going to night school and studying hard and eventually becoming an engineer, maintenance fitter, still working down the coal pits. But now I was given problems and I had to find solutions. And I like that. As an engineer, you have to be ingenious to come up with those solutions. So I like that. I like the buzz of doing that. I must admit, when I got the job done, I like getting out of there as well because it's dirty and dusty. But I liked, having problems and finding solutions. So that takes me up to the next big thing, I guess, which was my car accident, which happened in 2002. So I was traveling on the outskirts of Sheffield. It was a rainy day. The car skidded. There's nobody else on the road. I wasn't speeding. Just a bad accident. And as my car skidded, it crashed into a pole and it bent the car in half. And within that crash, that mangled metal was my legs. And everybody came to save me. The police, the ambulance, the fire brigade. Took them about an hour and a half to cut me free, cut the car apart, reach in and drag me out, and mercy dashed me to the nearest hospital. And that's where they operated on me straight away. But the results were, when I came out of the operating theatre, that because of the severity of my injuries that I'd sustained, I may never walk again. And I think that was a massive time in my life, a massive moment where it was a bit of a sink or swim, almost like a fight or flight. I could have rolled over in bed after being given that news and just given in and said, okay, I guess I'll never walk again. I'll be in a wheelchair and that's it. But at that point, I remember feeling really angry that somebody had said those words to me. For me, they didn't even know who I was. Maybe I was just a number to them. They didn't know who Steve Judge, was. And I felt that I was destined to do more than not walk again. I wanted to stand again. I wanted to walk again. And I was going to do everything possible to make sure that could happen. They just saved my legs. So I now needed to do something with them. And I guess that was over to me. I like having control. I think a lot of humans like control. I specifically like it. But there was a lot to do. My legs had been crushed. My left leg, if you imagine the knee had been ripped apart and the four ligaments that hold it together, they'd been ripped out. My right leg had been partially amputated, which means 4 inches of bone had been knocked out. And then my leg had been squashed together. So it was shorter. It was 4 inches shorter than my left leg. I had a metal cage around it. It was going to be my responsibility, my job to twist the bolts on that cage day after day after day, slowly stretching the skin and the muscle and wrenching the ligaments and wrenching the bone apart to form a gap of 4 inches. So this is what I had to do, plus many, many other physio kind of exercises. But I did it. That was what I had to do. And I can remember one time saying to my physio, what more can I do? I was doing 21 different exercises at that point on my left leg, on my right leg, on my back and everything. And I was saying, what more can I do? What more can I do? What more can I do? Because I knew that this is what I could control. This is what I could do. So physio was what I needed to do. And I was very dedicated and committed. And without going through the whole 3 years of my physio life, there were many highs and many lows. But eventually, I did manage to stand again. I did manage to walk again. But I also realized, because I had a goal, a vision of sort of doing that, when I got to that stage, I was very different to what I was before the accident. My goal had been to get back to normal. And I now realize that there's no such thing as normal. Normal didn't exist. You know, I was very, as a different person, a different kind of normal, I guess. It was a big message that I pass out to the kids when I speak to the kids, but also adults, to stop comparing yourself to others. You know, I was comparing myself to the time before the accident, but that's wrong. I was a different person. And so stop comparing yourself to other people, to your friends, to your families, to celebrities. Everybody does it though. But you've got to realize, you've got to start thinking about what you can do rather than what you can't do. And that's what I had to do in that situation. You know, look at the positive aspects of it. I couldn't run anymore, but I could swim, so I swam. I could cycle, so I cycled, and I set goals in those, and I worked towards them, always pushing myself. Until eventually I got to the stage where somebody asked me, said, what's the next thing you're going to do, Steve? I said, I don't know. And I went onto Google looking for a new challenge with swimming and cycling, and the only thing I could find was a triathlon. So I started competing in paratriathlon, so triathlon for disabled athletes, and started running again, as in, you know, it'd been stolen from me for 7.5 years running. And to get that freedom back, that aspect back in my life was amazing. So much pain involved, don't get me wrong. Maybe not while I was running because of the adrenaline, the endorphin release, but afterwards, so much pain. But I thought about what I could do rather than what I couldn't do. So the next day I'd swim, and then the next day I'd cycle, and the pain would have subsided a bit. Then I'd run again, and I competed in the British Championships, and I won. And I set my goals, higher goals, representing Great Britain. I became European champion in 2011. And then I set goals.
There, Steve, you're leading into my next question there.
Oh, right. Okay. Right. Well, I'll stop there. European champion, then I set new goals. Over to you, John.
Yeah. Before we talk about being a gold medal winner, I have to say that your story is absolutely inspiring. And for people who are made redundant from a job, it might seem like your whole world has ended. But if you dig deep enough and look at yourself and what skills you can bring to the party and what skills you can help put in place to help people get a better life for themselves, you'll find a new vocation in life. And that is what you did by refusing to accept defeatist ideas. You wanted to do the very best for yourself. So how did the fact that you won 2 gold medals on the world stage as a para-triathlete, what impact did that have on your life?
On my life, I think it gave me a massive satisfaction. So when you're working towards something, there's 2 ways of looking at it. And I talk about what's your coal and what's your gold. What's your coal? Your coal is COAL, your contempt. What are you in contempt of? What are your obstacles? What makes you angry? What are your loathings? You know, what are those deep things that are really dragging you down? If you've just been made redundant, I think the answers are pretty easy on this stage. You know, what's your coal? So what's that thing? For me, it was the accident. For me, it was somebody telling me that I might not walk again. For me, it was the pain that I was going through. For me, it was having running taken away from me. That was my coal. That's what I wanted to get away from. And if anything, you could call it your rock bottom. Coal is a rock, it's your rock bottom. And when you're talking about the wave of resilience, we can talk about later, as you go down the curve, you're right at the bottom. You can't get any lower than that. Now, that might be sulking, but it might be even deeper. It might be depression. So what is your coal? What are you trying to get away from? Because you need to know what that is. Now, the next thing is, what's your gold? What is it that you really want? What will make you happy? What is your gold? Stands for GOAL, your goal, your opportunities, your action, your love. You know, your dreams, your desires, all of those things. So what is your goal? You've got to know where you're going. You've got to have a vision of what you really want and what you want to achieve. Sometimes that will come as you move away from your goal. So first of all, what is your goal? I knew what my goal was. I didn't want to be in hospital. I didn't want to be in a wheelchair. I wanted to get away. I didn't know I wanted to be a world champion. That comes with time. I just wanted to stand again, walk again. I wanted to swim again. I wanted to cycle again. I wanted to run again. I wanted to put them all together and become a British champion, then a European, and it goes on and on and on, bit by bit. So again, just want to stress that I didn't wake up in hospital and go, I want to be a world champion. That it just comes with time. But I did know what I didn't want. And sometimes that's what you need to start off with. So becoming a 2 times world champion was a real look behind me as to this is where I've come from. Look at where I've come from. I've come from that deep, dark, deepest, horrible area, my goal. And then I looked towards me, towards where I was going, the finish line as it was. And that's what I'm running towards, my gold. So yeah, doing it twice is just like double. If somebody says, they don't think you can do it twice and send photos. It just confirms that you've actually achieved something, not just by luck. And I'd never say that anyway, but just, to do it twice is incredible, but also the lead up to it. So think if you are thinking about what you want, just think about what makes you really happy and what will give you great pleasure when you achieve it.
Great answer, I think, Steve, there. And I would say to people who are made redundant, redundancy might seem like it might seem like the end of one chapter in your life, but it can be the beginning of a much brighter new chapter in your life. And once you get over the situation where you feel bad about yourself and you start looking to your future, a great future can be out there for you. You just have to identify what your goal is, what you're good at, what you want from life, what do you want to achieve, and what sort of life do you want to lead for yourself going forward. So there's plenty to think about post-redundancy to get started in the workplace again, either as an employee in a company or as a self-employed person running your own business. But I would reiterate to people, the most important thing is to do work that you love doing. We may all be in the same storm, but we are all in different boats. Can you please expand on that for me?
Okay, so this is something I'm just looking at. I've got a prop here. Something I came up with last year because the pandemic hit and everybody was struggling, and I got really a little bit angry of everybody saying, "Hey guys, we're all in this together. We're all in this together." And I thought, no, we are not all in this together. We're all in the same storm, all in this situation. But I'd look out my window, I could see my neighbour who'd been furloughed. He was sunbathing. He was getting paid to sunbathe. I was in my office working as hard as I could just to survive, just to do something. And I thought, we're not all in this together. We're in very different situations. So that really angered me. And sometimes that, we've just been talking about what my goal was. That was my push. I was like, I've got to do something about this. But I needed something. I keep talking about the wave of resilience. So I'm going to mention that a little bit more. The wave of resilience is something you go through when something hard hits you, a change, redundancy, adversity, trauma. Initially you have shock. So if you imagine a wave starts from left to right, you start off with shock and you go, oh my goodness, fight or flight. And then you'll go into denial. The brain will try to protect you and say, oh, it's not really happened. Put your fingers in your ear. Now, once you get past that, you will have anger, and anger will bring you down, down, down. After anger, you have the sharing, blaming. Then this might be good therapeutically, where you can just talk to people, do some art, poetry, but you also might shout at people, slam doors. You might put something on social media, not good. So you'll share one way or another. This will bring you down to rock bottom, which I've already mentioned. Now, after rock bottom, you've got acceptance. So you accept the situation, you accept what's happened to you, and after acceptance, you can start taking action, and then you rise up the other side and you get to your new vocation, your new place. Now, if you do this correctly, you will end up higher than where you started, meaning that adversity, trauma, change is actually a good thing. So if you do the wave of resilience correctly, you can come out of it in a better place, as long as you do every single thing. You can't skip any of them. You can't skip past anger or denial or sharing. You have to, because if you don't, at some point you will flip back. So for me, I was angry. I was angry that people say, "Oh, all in this together." What do I need to do? I need to share. I need to do something therapeutically. I need to do it. And art is a really good thing. I'm not an artist. I can draw. I've done poetry before when I was in hospital. So sometimes, in desperate measures, you try anything. So I put pen to paper or paintbrush to paper, and I started drawing this feeling that I had about we're all in the same storm, the pandemic. This is like a storm, and we're all in a big ocean. But I wouldn't say we're in the same situation because we're in different boats. So that's what I did. So we've got this here. So with the picture that I've got here, I've got the big black clouds of the pandemic and the lightning coming down and the rain, obviously loads of rain. And then you've got the sea, and it's a rough sea, and it's got different boats in it. So I'd say this is me here on my own. I run my own business. There's nobody helping me here. And I'm paddling furiously, trying to survive. Heading towards, there's always some positivity. The sun, there's a bit of sun here. So I'm paddling towards that. How about everybody else? Everybody's in different boats. So some people are in sailboats, and they have to change. They have to adjust their sails to get the wind. Some are small sailboats with a few people, some in bigger boats. Some people in rowing boats, and they've even lost an oar. They're really struggling. They're just going around in circles. Sadly, there's some people here drowning because their boat has already capsized. Some people are on ocean liners. They really haven't been affected, or even they're actually getting some benefit out of this pandemic situation one way or another. You could go on and on and on. You could do different boats. You could even do submarines that haven't even been affected by this pandemic. You could do lighthouses. You could do sharks in the water. There's all sorts of things. But for me, painting this, I suddenly realized which boat I was, and therefore I shouldn't compare myself to other people in other boats. And this is what I talk about. I talk about, which boat are you in, and why do you think you're in that boat, and how do you feel about that, and what do you need to do to get your boat to the end of the storm, to the sunlight. And it just makes people think about it. But also in the workshops that I run, people hear those stories and go, "Oh my gosh, I didn't realize that they were in such a small boat. I didn't realize that they were bailing out the water. Here's me on my sailing boat. We've had to change a little bit here and there, but actually, we're doing okay." But everybody's different. So it's like I was saying, there's no such thing as normal. It's a similar thing to that. We're in the same storm, but in different boats. So I did that picture. I then took a photo of that. I send it out as postcards to clients, to friends, saying this is how I'm coping with it. I put a nice message on the back. And it's just about getting people to understand, again, what's going on. Like I said, as humans, we love control. We love to know what's going on. And if you can tell a story or explain to them in some way for them to understand that, then it puts them in a better place and they know where they are and where they need to get to.
Great answer, Steve. And there's no doubt about it, but the COVID-19 pandemic impacted many industries across the globe. How much you're impacted depends on how mature your business is and how much support you have around your business. So a person like yourself who's self-employed, you've got to make your own decisions. You've got to define what your future is as a speaker. If you're working in a global organization like a big airline like British Airways, Lufthansa, Emirates, it's a different story because the chief executive has to make tough decisions alongside his or her senior management team. And in the case of Lufthansa, for example, they had to go and get funds from the German government to continue. They needed liquidity, but they're still in operation. But it's a much bigger operation, and the scale of the decisions are much greater than those of a self-employed person. Moving on, what does the future hold for Steve Judge?
The future is going to be amazing. I mean, I'm an optimist. I'm very positive, so I'm bound to say something like that. Can you imagine if I said the opposite? That'd be terrible. But let me justify that a little bit. I will admit that last year was very much about survival. I'm running my own business. I'm a conference speaker, so all the conferences shut down. So you can imagine, my business was struggling somewhat, and I was a conference speaker because that's what I love to do. That was my goal. That's what made me happy. I made that choice. I've done lots of jobs along the way, working down the coal pits. I've been working in laboratories. I've worked in construction and health and safety. I've worked in the media team. And through that journey, I came to this, where I'm now a motivational speaker, and I love it. And a lot of people say, oh, I do workshops and I do this and I do coaching and stuff. And I said, well, that's fine. I might do a little bit of that, but the main thing is conference speaking. Anyway, last year, the conferences shut down, and so I couldn't do conference speaking anymore. So I thought, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? So I wasn't going to quit. And some people said to me, in the nicest way, they wanted to be supportive, said, have you thought about, getting another job, just getting anything just to get you through this? And I said, and that kind of really upset me, kind of made me quite angry. I remember one time somebody saying something at a barbecue, and they were just trying to help, one of my friends. And I thought, no, and I was almost quite tearful the next day. And I just thought, I am not going to quit. This is what I really love. I'm going to make it work. And I'd already made plans, up to that stage anyway. And those plans are to adapt and to change and to diversify. I'd literally put all my eggs in one basket, and I had to start getting new baskets. So I had to start investing more in my workshops that I deliver, my goal setting workshops, and my resilience. Obviously, resilience, big thing in pandemic. Also my coaching, whether that's speaker coaching or transformational coaching. I need to do more on those, because that's what people want. My main things are to help people, to inspire others, and to motivate many. I usually do that stood on the stage in front of thousands of people. If I can't do that, then what can I do? So I didn't drop the speaking at all. And I've done a lot of keynotes virtually, and I've modified my keynote. My keynote is very flamboyant and lots of energy, as you can imagine. So I wanted to do something similar on the virtual screen on Zoom. And so I've got sound effects. So when I do my talk, I've got the sound effects of the car crashing, of the crowd cheering as I'm competing, of the rain coming down, lots and lots of things. I've got more props. And I'm still doing the running backwards and forwards just in front of the screen. So I'm still doing my keynote, and there's opportunities there. I've spoken in New Zealand, I've spoken in America, all virtually. So I've been doing that. I've also done my workshops, my resilience, my goal setting workshops, and I've set up an e-learning workshop as well, so people can download that and do that in their own time. I've also done my coaching, my transformational coaching, because a lot of people are struggling. I don't know where to go, what to do. They've had massive change or impact because of the pandemic. It might be redundancy, and I can help them to find out where they are, benchmark it, where they are, and also, where do they want to go? And then I can coach them and help them towards that. And then obviously the speaking. People are still speaking. I was president of the Yorkshire Professional Speaking Association last year, and people are still speaking, and they still need coaching on that. So promoting that in my business as well. That's what I've done. So last year was very much about survival. I'll admit that. This year is about ramping it up a little bit, but I've got the word of epic next year, because things will be, I'll be able to see clearly what's going on next year about the conference speaking, which is what I love, but all the other things will be ticking along. I'll have a passive income from the workshops, from the e-learning workshops, and all the things that I've set up. So at no point am I going to ever say that the pandemic has been a good thing, but I've changed because of it, and I've changed for the better, I would say, because I've got more diversification. I'm more diverse. I don't know, but I do lots of different things. So yes, that's what I would say I am now, and in the future, epic.
Great answer. And just to summarize what you're saying there, I think the COVID-19 pandemic has been a big leveler for the professional speaking industry, but you have to believe that the future is going to be bright. And I would share your sentiments that 2022 onwards, they're going to be epic years, not just for professional speakers, but across all industries. We're going to see a big upturn in the world economy, hopefully next year. People who have been made unemployed due to the COVID-19 pandemic or furloughed from their jobs will hopefully very soon be returning to work, and we'll see much more positivity in the world economy and in people in general. I think there's a lot of people who are kind of pessimistic about life at the moment, and they're probably fraying at the edges. They're worried about when this pandemic is going to stop and they can get back to their normal lives. But I do believe by the end of this year, the world economy and the world in general will be in a much stronger and better place. Is there anything that you'd like to say to the audience? How can the audience reach you? And do you have a special gift for the audience?
Okay, they can reach me through social media. That's the best way. LinkedIn is probably the best one, but also Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. I have a website as well. The website is, as you can imagine, steve-judge.co.uk. So they should be able to find me easily there. On my website, it's got my phone number. It's got my email. So if you do want to get in contact, just drop me a line. Like I said, my main philosophy is to help people, to inspire others and motivate many. So if you want to have a quick chat, just let's book a call, have a 1 hour Zoom. Let's see how I might be able to help you or not. Maybe we could just have a chat about how things have been rough in the past and how things are going to be better in the future. I can talk more about my wave of resilience, or even, same storm, different boats, and a gift. I would love to. So you can buy my autobiography. I don't mention it slightly. So my autobiography. This is a goal that I set a couple of years ago, because as a speaker, you've got to have a book. Always got to have a book. So I wrote my book, my autobiography. You can buy it from Amazon, but if you want a signed copy, and I'll even put a message in it as well, personally to you, then get in contact with me and let's sort something out. And you give me your address, and I can send it out to you. So that's a nice little gift that I can do. We can, just get in contact.
I have to say, on behalf of Steve, to the audience, having read the book myself, it is a great read and it's well worth the investment. So please contact Steve directly if you want a signed copy of his book. It is well worth the read. This concludes the GYFT show for today.